So hey GBA fans, it's Xilicks here, and welcome to the very first episode of the GBA Fantasy League. This episode is going to be a bit longer than most, as we're going to be going over the rules, so bear with me. After we go over the rules, however, this video will continue on with what's to be expected for each other week. And every other week on Tuesdays, expect a regular episode. So without any further delay, I'd like to direct all of your attention to the description where you can find a link that is labeled rules. I'll be going over everything on it, so no need to read it unless of course you want to, and this will be your guide each week whenever you're going to be picking your mons and all that other juicy stuff. So let's just get right into it, as I said. Alright, so getting right into the document. Players, being you guys are the players. Every single week, you'll be submitting a Google form, okay? You submit the form anywhere from Tuesday to Friday. Any form submitted after Friday will not count, and there will be a new form each week. You can fill out that form right now if you want. However, I'd recommend you should listen to all of these rules first. As said, the form can be found in the video description of the Tuesday video, and you can only submit one a week, so make sure that the form has all of the answers that you want. So each week you'll be picking 3 offensive mons, 3 defensive mons, 1 all-star mon, and 1 coach of the week. These can be different every single week, so unlike other fantasy leagues, in most fantasy leagues for like fantasy football or fantasy hockey, whatever, you draft your team at the beginning. For this, for simplicity, and it's a little bit more fun this way, you'll be able to make new picks every single week, okay? And all of these picks are going to be your predictions. You're predicting what mons are going to be the best, which coach is going to be the best, okay? So there's this little meta game where you have to think, okay, this team has a Weavile, and their enemy team is very weak to Weavile. So I'm probably going to have Weavile as an offensive pick this week, just because I think it's going to do well, okay? So that's how you're going to be playing this game. For defensive picks, same thing. Hey, this team has a melodic. The enemy team has nothing that can beat that melodic. I'm going to put that as a defensive pick. We'll get more into how the points are scored for that in a little bit, so stick with me. At the end of each week, all the points are going to be tallied by me and added to your players' points. All of these scores can be found on the spreadsheet that is public. The link is on this form, so you can find it there. And essentially what that's going to mean is I'm going to tally up all the points for all the mons and give them to all the players. So if you picked Weavile, you get all of Weavile's points that week. Okay, if you picked Melodic, you get all of Melodic's points that week. And the eventual goal is you're going to want to try to get the most points each week so you can be featured in the next fantasy video. Also, you'll be featured in like the top players of all time, so you obviously want that. Also in the Tuesday video, which will be in this video after we're done with the rules, we're gonna have a You Pick 6 section. The way this works is I will have a guest, or I'll just be alone. This week we will have a guest though, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But the pick 6 is basically going to be my picks with the guest for that week. So we're going to have our 6 that we're picking. Now obviously you don't have to pick this, but if you beat us, then hey, you did better than we did. Because obviously we don't know the outcome of the battle either, so we're making these picks based on our predictions as well. So if you beat the You Pick 6, then you get like all the fame and glory. So try to beat the coaches and myself. It'll be worth it. And then obviously the video will be showing off the current leader and the best mons from the previous week and all time. So you want to tune in each week if you want to stay caught up, or you can just look at the spreadsheet if you want to see all the points for each week. They'll all be saved there. It's a lot of work, but I'm sure you guys will appreciate it because it's going to be a lot of fun. So now let's get into how these points work. Starting off with the all-star pick. Each week you can have one all-star pick, and each week there's going to be one All-Star Mon. So the All-Star Mon is the Mon for that week that scored the most points across everything. So let's say a Weavile scores hypothetically 30 points and nothing else got 30 points, Weavile's the All-Star. So anyone who picked Weavile as their All-Star gets an additional 5 points on top of the Weavile's 30 points. Now, the All-Star is a bit of a high risk, high reward, because say you pick, I don't know, Greninja as your All-Star pick, but then Greninja doesn't have the All-Star position, you don't get the points. So high risk, high reward. Some people might be really risky and they might go for something they know is going to do well, but it might not get that top spot and they could lose out on points, or they could score big. This is where players are going to make a difference, the All-Star pick, in my opinion, because you have a chance of getting a lot of points, you also have a chance of missing out on a lot of points. Scrolling down to offensive. Now, this is a pretty straightforward category, but it might be a little bit confusing at first. So the way that offensive and defensive works is you can pick any Mon you want for offensive. Each Mon each week will be judged offensively and defensively. So say a Weavile has 10 points in offense and 2 points in defense. If you pick that Weavile as one of your offensive picks, you get the 10 points. If you pick Weavile as one of your defensive picks, you get the 2 points, but you don't get the other, if that makes any sense. So essentially, you're going to want to be judging, okay, this is going to be a good Mon defensively this week, I'm going to have it as a defense pick. Or you're going to say, this is going to be a good Mon offensively this week, I'm going to have it as an offense pick this week. Keep in mind though, that the way the scoring works, any Mon can fill any role, so you want to be pretty strategic with your picking. So now let's get into the offensive points. Each final blow the offensive Mon deals grants that Mon 2 points, and if you pick that Mon, you get 2 points, if that makes sense. For each consecutive knockout, you get a ×2 multiplier. So as you can see, there's a little bit of math down there showing how a sweep would work. If you knock out 2 Mons in a row, that Mon gets 8 points. If you knock out 3 Mons in a row, that Mon gets 12 points. So as you can see, sweeps are very rewarding for offensive Pokemon, and it's definitely worth picking Mons that you know can sweep for your offensive picks. The next category is a one-hit KO. If your Mon manages to score a one-hit KO, you will gain 3 points, and this also counts towards your multiplier. And as you can see, there's a little bit more math as to how that would work. So if you manage to score an OHKO during your multiplier, being a sweep, then you get even more points. So things like setup sweepers and choice scarfers that are going to be getting those OHKOs, those are going to be the Mons that you want to pick every week. Or you can go the safer route and just say, hey, this Mon has good coverage, it might get some good knockouts this week, I'm going to pick it as an offensive pick. And then, finally, if your Mon dies without getting any knockouts that match, -2 points. Next, looking at the defensive category, if your Mon is hit by a resisted hit and survives the attack, +1. So if a fire type switches in on a grass move, that's 1 point. Easy, plain and simple. If your Mon is hit by a super effective hit, so if a Milotic is hit by a Thunderbolt and survives, that's +3 points. So you can imagine some Mons, you know, with a hidden power or maybe with a low base power attack might be super effective, but it might not knock out some very bulky Mons. So you can see some Mons can live many super effective hits and they can really start racking up these defensive points. And then finally, if the Mon is one-hit KO'd, you lose 2 points. Next up, we are looking at the utility section. So the way the utility section works is these are points that can be added to anything. So if you pick your Weavile for offensive and you get 3 utility points, that'll be added to your offensive. So now you want to start thinking, hey, my Mon might be really good offensively, or your Mon might be really good defensively, but is it also going to be racking up those utility points? Because these points matter. The first 2 points are very plain and simple. If your Mon is brought to the battle, you get 1 point. Very easy. If your Mon is not brought to the battle, you lose a point. So let's say you pick, I don't know, Tapu Fini. Say you pick Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini doesn't get brought, you're going to lose 1 point for picking Tapu Fini, regardless. And that'll be your score for Tapu Fini that week, -1. Next up, we have Hazard. If you add a Hazard, so Stealth Rock Spike, Toxic Spike, or if you remove a Hazard using Rapid Spin or Defog, you get 1 point. Now this can happen multiple times. So if you get one Stealth Rock, that's 1 point. If you get a Spike, that's 1 point. If you defog once and then you defog again, that's 2 points because you did it twice. Now for statuses, if you add or remove a status, now this is specifically with using a move that directly inflicts the status. Therefore, a Scald Burn or a Thunder Paralyze will not count. However, if you use Thunder Wave, Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, that will count. Easy 1 point, and same thing goes with Heal Bell and Aromatherapy. Clearing status off your team or yourself will also grant 1 point. Next up, healing your team using moves like Wish, Healing Wish, Lunar Dance, 2 points. So you can imagine some mons that like to Wish spam, maybe your Vaporeons or your, I don't know, like your bulky Sylveons, you know, that's 2 points for those mons. And then finally, the removal or switching of an item, so knockoff, trick, switcheroo. If you're getting rid of their item, that's 1 point. So as you can see, these utility can definitely help out both offensive and defensive mons. So you want to be thinking hard whenever you're making your picks each week if they're going to get these extra utility points. Finally, we have the Coach of the Week section. Now, on the form, you will see there's an option for Coach of the Week. In this form, for the section, you pick which coach you think is going to be the best one that week. Now, this section you can either gain points or lose points. If you pick the coach that has the best differential for that week, you're going to get their differential. So if they 6-0'd an opponent, you're going to get +6 and you're going to get +3. So the most you can get from this category is 9 points, which is quite a lot actually. If your coach wins that week but isn't the best, you just get their differential. So say they got a 2-0, you're going to get 2 points. If your coach loses that week, you get their differential. Nothing added. So if they lost 0-3, you lose 3 points. The most you can lose is 6. If there is a timeout or a tie, both coaches will receive 0 as their differential. So say you pick your favorite coach, they tie that week, you get 0. You don't gain, you don't lose any. As you can see at the bottom, this fantasy league is just for fun, guys. Don't take it too seriously, but if you really do want to take it seriously, make sure you're keeping in mind that it's for fun and you're having fun with it. This is a lot to take in. I'm sure it'll make a lot more sense in week 2 once we can actually see some of the scores and you understand a bit more how it works. I hope you guys are excited for it though, and if you have any questions or comments, you can tweet me at Xilicks or you can talk to me in the fantasy section of the fan Discord. Go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have cool discussions. Woo, fun, all that stuff. So next up, we are going to be moving into the You Pick 6 section where we are going to have a special guest. I will see you guys in a moment. Alright, moving right along to the You Pick 6 segment for this week. Normally we would have a guest for this part, however there were some schedule changes which ended up not being one, so sorry on that regard. However, hopefully there will be one next week. I'll actually try and make sure that that does happen that next week, because it was a little bit disappointing that I hyped up there was going to be a guest and there wasn't a guest, but whatever, let's just get right into it. So these are my picks for offensive and defensive this week. Now remember, if you're playing along, you don't have to follow my picks. You can make your own picks, or you can, you can say, hey, I like one of his offensive picks, I'm going to go with it. That's totally fine. You can pick whatever you want, as long as obviously it was drafted, because if you pick something that wasn't drafted, you're not going to get any points for it. and that wouldn't make any sense. So let's start with the offensive category for my picks. I've gone with Buzzwole from the Tampa Bay Lux Rays, Lucario from the Borussia Donphan, and Salamence from the San Francisco Giants. I picked these mons because they all either have pretty great sweeping potential this week or some nice type coverage for their week 1 opponents. Lucario, for example, has some great coverage going against the San Jose Sharpedos and the ability to break through some of their walls like Porygon 2, while Salamence will be a huge threat if given the ability to set up or even use Z moves against the Torracats, and with Buzzwole's ability to boost its attack, it's just naturally equipped to sweep, hopefully scoring many points this week. Moving on to my defensive picks, I have Rotom Heat, also from the Borussia Donphan, Klefki from the Utah Jasmine, and Cresselia from the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. For these 3 picks, they all fill a unique category I feel is important for defensive picks. To start with Rotom Heat, it has a really great typing which allows it to stay on the field for a while, as well as throwing out some statuses like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, etc. While Klefki, I feel, can get a lot of utility points, while also having a really nice Steel Fairy type, which is going to go well against the Scissors matchup this week. And then finally Cresselia, due to its ability to set up with Calm Mind, whatever it may be, and take many hits, also scoring hopefully some utility points this week would be really nice to boost up its score. So yeah, that's going to round up my pick 6 for the week. Make sure to check the links in the description and fill out your own pick 6 as well as your all-star pick and your coach of the week. Thanks for sticking around for this little bit longer episode. I hope you all enjoy playing the Fantasy League. This has been Xilicks. I'll see you guys next week. Okay, thanks, bye.